Growing up, I like a lot of my big interest was music. I have home videos that my parents recorded of me at age 1, age 2, sitting in front of a speaker. Had no idea what I was listening to, but I was fascinated by this giant box that made sound. So from a young age, I was very interested in music, and I remember, I'm actually a little older, I'm about 29, I'm a returning student. So for the longest time growing up, I was very into music. You would see me with my headphones in, listening to music, just nonstop, singing in the shower, everything. I was in choir. So I remember back in the 90s, it was really offensive to find out they were cutting funding for arts and curriculum in classes, and generally going with just your core math, science, English, social studies. I don't know whether they've rescinded on that now and now they're leaving it, but I'm pretty sure that if it hadn't been for my choir class, I probably would have been a high school dropout, because it was the only class I looked forward to and the only class that kept me sane. And so I was on an education department. I really find it kind of offensive that many teachers are woefully underpaid on top of woefully overworked. I remember after graduating finding out that a lot of teachers in some bigger schools than where I came from, you would hear about a teacher who had like 100 students, and like that's a college class. That's a small IU class here sometimes. And granted, I probably gave teachers one of the most difficult times they had. I was that student, but I always appreciated the efforts they did and how hard they tried. And I think education for me would be one of the biggest things, because if you fund it better, it'll end up better. You know, we talk about how we have no children left behind and all that, but I don't see anybody making a real effort to do it. It's all these little piecemeal things that fail because they don't have funding elsewhere to kind of, like, if you want to make it better, you need to actually grow a pair and do it. These little things they do, like, oh, let's up the funding a little, but oh, let's raise tuition. And at least in college level, I noticed, having been at IU for the better part of 10 years, tuition has gone up at least 12 times. It went up twice in one summer. It went up about at 7%, and then like, oh, by the way, we're raising it 2%, and they never gave a real good reason why. But I think government should fund it and help out a little better, because they talk about all this, people who don't have opportunities to go to college, and they don't have opportunities not because they don't have money. They don't have opportunities because even the state schools are ridiculously expensive. So for me, I think the biggest change I would like to see is a huge just influx of money to education.